One. All right. We are live. Welcome everybody to this week's edition of Fights Unwrapped. To the right of me is always with my co-host Alec Carr. Alec Carr, we always do this at the beginning of every single time we do a show. You are 6-0 in your Twitter handle, so this is your time again to shine and to plug in anything you want to.
Okay, so you guys can always follow me right here. Right? Yeah, there we go. Right there at Alex TD Carr. That's my personal Twitter account. Where, as always, my off the wall opinions, my crazy ideas. Um, I just posted a whole thing about the Eagles coaching search. Um, and a
Yeah.
call out to all fans to hold the team responsible. It was pretty fun. And as always, please at me if you disagree with me. If you want to start a fight with about fights or about sports in general, I love debating. So please do it. Um, and you can follow me at Fourth and 26 Sports. Um, for all kinds of Philadelphia sports content, but more importantly, all kinds of sports content. Monica, I think you've retweeted some of the stuff that we got some more fight content, some more fight headlines that I'm posting on there too. A lot more fights opinions as well as we look to kind of expand our view. And then as always, you can I'm going to be hopping in and out of Hoops Unwrapped, so you can follow me there, and of course at Unwrapped Sports as well.
Hey, good job, Alec. You're 7-0, 7-0. All right. So before we start with our UFC headlines, and then we're gonna jump into the big UFC 257 pay-per-view with a special guest who hopefully will be joining us in a little bit. We have to pay our bills and talk about some of our sponsors. That's right. So it's funny because last week one of our favorite welterweights, Carlos Condit, he won his fight, which was really exciting against Matt Brown. I believe it was a unanimous decision as well, and he's a huge proponent. He's a huge advocate of RxHemp.com. They have amazing CBD products. Y'all, they have both icy hot creams that you can use if anybody is training and needs it for recovery or for injury purposes. Go and visit rxhemp.com. We have an amazing code you can use, rxhemp-usn, to get 10% off your order right now. So that's our first sponsor. And the second one, which I will be, me and probably our special guest Jesse will be betting on this pay per view. I know Alec Carr is not a betting man, but we are definitely, and we definitely use mybookie.ag. It's amazing. It has also horse racing for people that are into it as well. You can use the promo code USN100 for double up your first deposit, 100% sign up bonus right there and then. So anybody who's planning on betting on this card, you can use mybookie.ag as well. So, all right, there you go. So we have one headline and one headline only. Perry Aston, co-founder of Unwrapped Sports. Thanks, Perry. Thanks for the love. Appreciate it. We'll talk later. All right, we have one headline, and it's a big one because it actually affects, it actually affects what could be the outcome of this fight card. So Khabib, which is everyone knows is he's not the former. He's still the lightweight champion. He's the recently retired lightweight champion, even though he's still technically the lightweight champion. I know, right? He's retired, but he hasn't vacated his belt yet. He makes his decision on his future and the future of the lightweight division's belt. And his decision is a pretty vague one. We heard it in the Holloway versus Cater card in the beginning of the main card. He pretty much said that he will come back if he sees something spectacular or something special happen, in this fight card or in the lightweight division, all their contenders. So that's pretty much what it was. That's the announcement, people, and that's all we got from it, and that's all Dana White got from the meeting that he and Khabib had. That was a pretty. They like milked that meeting. They literally said like they filmed it like, okay, let's go, here we go, and then they entered into a room, and then he came back just to decide this. So, Alucard, I know you have some reservations and some opinions on what this decision means. And we were just talking about this like right before the stream. We were saying, maybe if Dana was just saying like, oh well, he probably said no, but I'm just gonna say that he's gonna come back. Pending what happens during this fight card, or pending what happens during the lightweight division. So what do you have to say about Khabib's decision to maybe come back for a
So
fight?
this could very well be my rant of the week. Um, I have so many opinions on this. One, Dana, the guy obviously wants to call it quits. Um,
Mm-hmm.
what I foresee happening is that Khabib and Dana sat down, and Dana convinced him to not officially retire yet. That's about as far as he got. About as far as he's gonna get. They probably talked about it. Khabib was saying no, no, no. I want to retire. I'm done. I got nothing left to prove. Dana even said that in his announcement that Khabib feels like he's got nothing left to prove. He's beaten all the top guys. He's beaten all the champs from other promotions that they've brought in, like Dustin Poirier and Justin Gaethje. He's beaten Conor McGregor, who we will see this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
He's beaten everybody. So what else does he have to prove? Why does he need to be 30-0 in Khabib's eyes? And Dana wants Khabib Conor too. That's what he wants. He's. I'm sorry. I know everybody's excited for the possibility of a John Jones Izzy fight, but the number one selling fight card of all time will always be, if it happens, will always be Khabib Conor 2. Nothing will ever beat it. It's the hype that they could build alone, just because everybody knows what happens. It's what put the UFC on the national spotlight. It was on CNN, MSNBC, Fox News. It was everywhere. So
Yeah.
just the announcement would bring everybody in.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Then and then you got, you know, sorry, a phone call came in and distracted me a little bit.
Okay.
um,
All good.
And it's just, I think Khabib wants to retire. I think he wants to be done. I think Dana's convincing him not to be done, and that's why those sounded like Dana's words. They didn't sound like Khabib's words. You know what I mean? Like Dana
Yeah.
saying he's got to see something spectacular. That sounds like Dana said probably to him. Well, what if Conor comes in and knocks him out in less than a minute? What if Charles Oliveira destroys his next opponent, who may or may not, who may or may not be Justin Gaethje? Which, honestly, and I'll ask you with this. I think that's his next opponent. I think if he beats Gaethje, I think that's the only way he comes out of his retirement. I don't think he wants to fight Conor. It's not that he doesn't want to fight Conor McGregor again. I don't think he feels the need to fight Conor McGregor again, which is totally different. He's not dodging him. He's not. It's that he beat him, and he beat him pretty easily. So I think the only fight he would come out for is Do Bronx. What do you think?
Yeah, we definitely talked about this in our Fights on Rap chat just a little bit. I remember when Du Bronx was saying like, yeah, no, I'm next in line for you, Khabib, and that's exactly what he responded, and I agree, because I think Du Bronx, or Charles Oliveira, for people that don't know the reference to his ring name, is the only person that he's excited for, that Khabib is actually excited for. He's not excited for Dustin. He's definitely not excited for Conor as well. I don't think so. As much as many people would want that fight, he is not excited because he already beat them, and he doesn't have anything to prove, right? And like the only person that maybe Michael Chandler, perhaps Michael Chandler, we can put him in the mix as well. But I don't think he's as excited about Michael Chandler as he is about Du Bronx. That's for sure. And like they both have a little bit of a banter going on, so I think the only way, like you said, that's the only way that Khabib is ever going to come out of retirement. Something spectacular happening, and it'll be Do Bronx beating. We'll say Justin Gaethje for now because we don't actually know his next opponent, but his next opponent.
Right.
Pretty much.
I would expand. I think there's one other way you get Khabib to come out of retirement, and it's clearly what Dana White is pushing for, and it's clearly what the champ is pushing for as well. Um, Conor McGregor has already started the marketing for it. He's already calling him out. He said he's scaried away.
Yep.
He's already doing the shit talking we all know Conor McGregor for and love him for and love it, the way he built his profile. He's already doing it with Khabib. And no, listen, I don't think he means any of it. I think he has the utmost respect for Khabib. I think he really, really does. I think he respects him as a fighter and as a man. It's just a business. I don't think Conor's trying to be personal, especially since Conor has no room to talk. He retired too, twice now. But
Conor retired so many times. Like Conor retired at least like 3 times or something like that. So
but I think, listen, if he comes out and he destroys Dustin like me and you, we'll get into that a little bit further.
we'll
But
get into that.
he
We'll
comes
get into
out
that. Yeah.
and he destroys Dustin and immediately starts going, starts doing his "Where the fuck are you, Khabib?"
Yeah.
And just going off and on and on. Calling his manager a terrorist and all this other stuff. Um,
Yeah.
that I honestly think that could draw Khabib out of retirement because Khabib doesn't like that. That hurts him as it cuts to him. He takes the one thing you can say about Khabib, he takes
Mhm.
things personally when he shouldn't. Um, and it drives him. It really does. It drives him to be a better fighter. That's why he talks all kinds of. I don't know if anyone has seen it, but he talks all kinds of shit while he's fighting. Khabib is not
Yeah,
the
he does.
quiet fighter. He is never not talking shit to the
Yeah.
guy. I think even in the last Conor fight, he was talking to Dana.
He was talking
So,
about that. I remember. Yeah.
right, during the fight, and he loved the Max Holloway's um, shit talking. So that Khabib is a shit talker. Don't get it twisted. But I think, what do you think about that? Do you think Conor could draw him out of retirement?
I think, yeah, of course. I think Conor could draw him out of retirement. Conor could draw pretty much anybody, into a fight that he wants. Personally, but to be honest with you, I also think like, what if, and we're just going to, Jesse just quoted our stream saying he may or may not make a surprise appearance in there. It's like, yes, Jesse, we can't wait to have you on here, in just a little bit. What if hypothetically Dustin destroys Conor? Now that could actually. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but what I'm trying to say is that what if Dustin Poirier makes a mark on Conor McGregor, and like I think maybe Khabib, because Khabib I might have Conor winning this fight as much as a lot of people have him winning this fight as well. So what if Dustin makes a mark on him, and like I wouldn't. Here's the thing: would I rather watch Conor and Khabib too? Of course I would. Of course I would. No offense to Dustin Poirier, just because like we already seen what Khabib can do, and Conor. I mean, we'll get into this in a little bit. But Conor actually had to stop Khabib like 4 times. Like actually, Khabib had like 4 tries where he was trying to level change, and I remember watching this in so much documentary and also the DC and Hawani show. I was watching that, and I don't like the both of them, but I was watching the both of them just for the fact that they made a good point that Conor was the only one out of all of the opponents to really make him work for that level change, make him work for that takedown. So, and he also had takedown defense as well. So, I think
Well, yeah, but
I would rather watch Conor. I would watch Conor versus Khabib too. But I think if Conor knocks out like Dustin Poirier like really fast in this round and like in spectacular fashion, then for sure, I think that there's definitely promise for a fight.
Yeah, and that's what we all forget about in that fight is that Conor, I think, has the most takedown defenses against Khabib out of any fighter ever. Um, I could be don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure if it's not the most, it's second. The
I
guy
think it is the
is
most. I think it's the most because I'm pretty sure, because
yeah.
he was
I,
analyzing this fight, and I'm pretty sure he was right
I
about
think
it. So
he's either brown or purple belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. I can't remember, but
yeah,
he uses that for his takedown defense. He doesn't actually use that for really anything else but his
yeah,
takedown defense. um, but
yeah.
he's got some of the best takedown defense, and I think he's probably right under Izzy. He's probably second in the entire UFC takedown defense. Um,
Yeah, that's for sure.
I listen. We'll get into the Conor Poirier stuff, but I think there's no chance in hell that's the outcome, and we'll talk about it. Even Dustin's manager has like some. They're already starting to like backtrack and like go into defense mode about. They're already acting like they lost. Let's just say that, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll talk about that later. I will say this one more thing. I will say about Dustin Poirier because you're talking about how Khabib, like inside the octagon, he's not a quiet fighter. He loves to talk smack and even like talk to Dana a little bit. But you know who else is what's called someone who also takes everything kind of personally. Used to be Dustin Poirier. Dustin Poirier used to fight with a lot of emotion. I did all my research in this fight. I remember like 6 years ago during the first fight, Dustin took everything that was brought onto him. All the critics saying that he was going to lose. He literally put that on his shoulders. Besides, obviously going from one weight class to another. He went from 145 to 155, and thankfully so because he was killing himself trying to make weight for 145. I remember that, and he also took everything at heart, and you could tell he was just trying to knock someone out in the first round, which is good, which worked for him. But then it also became a very dangerous kind of way of fighting as well. So
Mm-hmm.
I just remember just when you were talking about Khabib being like taking everything seriously, I just remember Dustin Poirier also take everything to heart and fighting with a lot of emotion, which he still does. He still does, but he's definitely more of a technician and more skilled like than 6 years
Yeah,
ago, Dustin Poirier, for sure.
yeah, and that's the thing. He's gotten way smarter. The other thing that I was just when you were saying that is Khabib. I mean, he didn't really do it. He didn't do a lot of the shit talking during the fight, but Khabib reminds me a lot of Dan Henderson in that
Yeah.
not the way he fights or anything like that. Don't get it twisted. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
say they're not even remotely the same kind of fighters.
Yeah.
But Dan Henderson never talked shit before a fight. Never. He took it all on his shoulder. He made a mental note of what you said, and then he destroyed you in the octagon or the ring. He absolutely annihilated you, and that's how Khabib is. Um, do you? I was thinking about this the other day too. Do you
Hmm.
think? What do you think of a Khabib Charles Oliveira fight?
Oh man, that would be so cool. Just because, like, obviously Charles Oliveira is like a renowned submission artist, and like his grappling is top notch. I would think Charles Oliveira, if I was Charles Oliveira, I would keep it standing up. Just because like Khabib is obviously a great grappler as well, but standing up, Khabib has pretty good striking as well. Not obviously elite striking, but just pretty good striking to pressure you against the cage and to get his takedown. So I still think Khabib wins. Like I'm still
Yeah,
gonna say Khabib wins for sure, but I think it'd be interesting just because they're both really great on the ground. So if it ever did go on the ground, that'd be really interesting to watch. But
I
yeah,
I don't think I don't think Khabib has ever fought somebody with Brazilian Jiu Jitsu at the level that Charles Oliveira has. That's why I'm
agreed.
interested in seeing it. I think that's why Khabib would be interested in testing himself against it because Oliveira is grappling top class in the world. Screw UFC.
In the
The
world,
entire world
in
is
the
top
world,
class.
yeah.
I know
Mhm.
for some reason some of the talk about him after the Tony Ferguson fight was he just laid on him for the entire fight. No, that's not true.
That's
He
not true.
skillfully and tactfully annihilated Tony Ferguson on the ground.
Took him apart.
He
Took him apart.
absolutely destroyed him. Just because he's not picking him apart on the feet doesn't mean he's not picking him apart. He did
On the ground.
whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
Right. And Tony Ferguson has claims to his own as being great on the ground too. Especially he is supposedly, and he was. I shouldn't say supposedly. He was great on his back when he was in his prime. And Oliveira just made him look like he didn't belong in the UFC. That's what it looked like that night. And
I agree.
that's what I would be interested to see Khabib's mauling style versus that finesse Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu to see how it works. Because can he just get inside control and get a leg on an arm and pound away on Oliveira? I don't think so. I don't think Oliveira will let that happen. And Oliveira is huge too in his own right.
He is. He is huge. Yeah. Exactly. So
So
I will. Yeah, I will ask you one more question before we go into our big UFC 257 fight preview. So my question is, okay, so before, you remember how everybody was saying, oh, Tony Ferguson is Khabib's biggest opponent. Tony Ferguson is going to be his hardest opponent, right? No, my opinion, I think Conor McGregor was his toughest opponent. Is his toughest opponent. Sorry, not it was, as well as Khabib is, because, like, I don't think Tony Ferguson, he doesn't have it anymore. You know, and maybe it could be Charles Oliveira. Maybe it could be Charles Oliveira. We might not know because we might not even get that matchup. But I think that, in my opinion, it's either between Conor or Charles Oliveira. In my opinion, in terms of who's Khabib's toughest opponent, because like you said, he's never faced anybody with that elite level of jiu-jitsu that Charles Oliveira has. At the same time, he has never defended. He's never had to pretty much go like leaps and levels beyond to get his level change and to get that takedown until Conor McGregor. So it makes me think to myself, who is Khabib's actually, hardest opponent, or the person that could beat him the most? It could be Conor McGregor. It could be Charles Oliveira.
yeah, and let's also. I think you're right. I don't think Tony Ferguson ever. And this is my controversial opinion, so please at me, and who's ever going to be listening. I don't think Tony Ferguson ever would have been as good of a matchup against Khabib versus Conor. I think Conor's the best matchup for him. I think he's got, like we said, some of the best takedown defenses in UFC history. And let's also not get it twisted. Conor McGregor came off a 2-year layoff and said, fuck it, I'll fight the best fighter in UFC history.
Yeah.
And did it on reportedly a 2-week fight camp. So, he did pretty good with all things considered. He was training boxing coming in. He was not training takedown defense. So, listen, I would never in a Conor Khabib fight, I would never pick Conor. Never. 10 out of 10 times I'm picking Khabib. But let's not, don't forget about that, people. Now, with Charles Oliveira, I need to see him do it again before I can say he'll be the toughest matchup. The potential is definitely there. Like we said, the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu's there. It's something Khabib has never faced. But I need to see him do it again, and I need to see him do it against Justin Gaethje. And it's just that simple. Do it against the number 1, number 2 contender in the world, and then let's see you do it against Khabib. If he goes in there against Justin Gaethje and just tools him like he did Tony Ferguson, if I'm Khabib, I'm starting to rethink coming back. I'm 29-0, okay. I'm good. I don't need to prove it. I don't want to blemish my undefeated record. Not that Khabib would ever do that, but I just need to see Oliveira do it one more time. Because I do believe, and everybody knows it as listen to this, I firmly believe Tony Ferguson's on his way down. He's not the same fighter he's not even close to the same fighter pre-injury. So do it again.
Yeah.
Do it against Gaethje. Do it against Chandler when he comes back. Oliveira has expressed wanting to fight the winner of this fight this Saturday as well. So do it against one of those guys. And yeah, let's do it. Run it. Run the Khabib fight. I'll be so excited.
Yeah, me too. All right. So we are going to start our UFC 257 fight preview. The lines up. There you go. Perfect. And we're going to start with the women's strawweight division. We have 12-1 Maria Rodriguez versus 10-1 Amanda Ribas. All right, so I'm going to start because everybody knows that I'm a huge Amanda Ribas fan. I've always, like, on the stream, I said, like, that's my girl, okay, at strawweight. And rightfully so. She's an amazing striker. Have you seen her on the ground? She's beaten Mackenzie Dern, which is like something that you just don't do on the ground. It's because like basically I never bet against Mackenzie Dern on the ground, and she did that. You know, obviously, it's like, okay, Maria Rodriguez, I'm not taking anything away from her. She's a talented striker. She's great in Muay Thai as well, but I've never seen her really in a takedown situation. You know, and I think that Amanda Ribas is more well-rounded in that situation. I think that she would win this fight. Maybe unanimous decision. I could see her winning through submission as well, personally, just because Amanda Ribas to me is the better fighter overall. No offense to Marina Rodriguez. What do you think, Alex Carr?
You took the words right out of my mouth. And we're both Ribas fans. It's just a fact about us. We both love watching her fight. She's an absolute tiny little beast, and it's fun to watch her destroy people like Mackenzie Dern. Oh, you're right. That was a perfect example to bring up because that's not something people do. What Ribas was able to do against Dern is just no one ever thought they'd see that. So yeah, I think she's a much more rounded fighter. I think she's an up and comer. I think screw that. She's not an up and comer. She's here. She's arrived.
No, she's not up and comer. No, she's here.
Right. She's legit. She's here. And let's just win this fight and let's move on. Come on.
I agree because I was saying the level of competition that she's faced, like she's won against. First, she won against Mackenzie Dern. Then she went to Brandon Marcos, which was very confusing to me because of just like the level of competition. It just went down when she faced Brandon Marcos. No offense. And then she faced Paige Van Zandt. Was her last win, which was impressive. It's just that Paige Van Zandt hadn't fought in a while too. So like it makes me think you really have to think to yourself how stacked this strawweight division is. Because you can have someone like Mackenzie Dern, you know, who is not a prospect anymore, and then afterwards you can face someone that's going downhill like Brandon Marcos. And you know, with Marina Rodriguez, she's coming off a loss against Carla Esparza, and rightfully so. Carla Esparza is a beast in wrestling, you know, and grappling. But then you think about it, and then you say like, oh, she got a draw against Cynthia Calvillo. She got a win against Tisha Torres, which was impressive in her own right. But you can see, like, you see the level of competition just like kind of scattered in that strawweight division. So, but I still think that Amanda Ribas got it. You know. So.
And what I was going to say about Rodriguez is, you know, she had. We talked about this last stream. Some fighters have a tendency that they beat the people they should beat, and when they go up and step up a level in competition against true contenders, they just can't beat them. And Rodriguez kind of has that. Maybe not to some of the extent, but she fights against really tough competition, and I think Ribas is another level up. I think she's a step higher than Rodriguez, and for that reason, she'll win.
I agree. All right. So today we're going to move on to this lightweight belt, which I'm actually really excited for. I'm really excited to see these two go at it. It's Matt Frevola, who's 8-1, against Arman Azaitar. I don't know if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, but he's 13-0. And I have a clear favorite in this fight. A really clear favorite. I mentioned this right before the stream. I'm cheering for the Ottman to win. He is such a beast in the octagon. He has power for days. Like literally, I haven't seen him win by anything but a knockout or a TKO in a long time. If I pull up all the opponents that he's faced,
why don't you run through it real quick?
Yeah, so let me just see right here.
Because not a lot of people know this name, and they should.
All right, so yeah, basically his last win was in the UFC Fight Night not too long ago. It was in September, and he won, TKO first round, and then UFC 242, which is Khabib versus Poirier. Funny enough, last year he won again in the first round, overhand right TKO. And then his other fights were not in the UFC, but they're all with punches in the first round, kicks in the third round, punches in the first round. Just like keeps going and going. Oh, it finally gets a decision win in 2016. God forbid, So this man, everybody should know about. He is dangerous. He is full of power. I would not bet against him. I am not betting against him. Matt Favola, he is, I believe, I don't know if I'm right about this. His name is, they call him the Steamroller. That's funny, actually. He won a split decision against Luis Pena, but the rest of his wins were either draws or decisions as well. So he's the one who beat Jalen Turner. We were talking about this. He won last year, March of not last year, sorry, 2019. He won that in March as well. So let me see if someone joined the comments. Oh, Jesse Clark. Hello.
We got him.
Let's see. Let me add him. Yeah, add him to the stream. Jesse.
What's up, guys?
What's up, Jesse?
How we doing?
This is Jesse Clark, everybody. Jesse Clark all the way down. Sorry, I'm doing this all the way down. So we're talking about some of the fights. We're getting to the next one because we're basically saying Ottman Azaitar. We're pretty much we're pretty much all betting on him to win this fight. 13-0, my man.
Yeah,
so, Alex,
I was.
Do you have anything to add before we go to
I was just going to say, a split decision win over Jalen Turner does speak volumes because Jalen Turner is a stud in his own right. Jalen Turner is clearly being marketed to be one of the next contenders. So that's nothing to scarf at because he is really, really good. Now, remembering back and looking back, Jalen Turner, a lot of people believe that Jalen Turner actually won that fight. But that being said, Ottman is. I'm predicting an early first-round knockout in this fight.
Early first-round knockout, yeah.
Ottman's power is unheard of. It's unreal. We're going to see some highlights in this one for sure.
Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait for this fight. All right, so next one we're moving on to. We're getting closer to Mr. Jesse Clark's favorite fighter of all time. But before that, we have two more fights to talk about. The first one is a women's flyweight bout between Jessica Eye, who I cannot stand, and Joanne Calderwood. Oh my gosh, guys. Jessica Eye is just downright annoying. And also, Joanne Calderwood even said, I always see her in the Performance Institute. She's always acting like she's a bully. She's always talking her smack. And now I get to be the one to punch her in the face. And I am so excited for this fight because I actually think Joanne Calderwood is going to get it done. She's going to punch that girl in the face and shut her up, by the way. But that's just me. What do you think, Alucard? Just because, I think Joanne Calderwood overall is the better fighter. Both of them are coming off of losses and a very inconsistent record, so they both really need this win though.
I was gonna agree with you. I don't know if it's gonna be an easy fight for either good person, either fighter. Jessica I don't like her very much either. She's a good fighter, and so is Calderwood. I think we're looking at a good fight, but I think Calderwood wins by decision. Because I think watching the embedded and all the other stuff beforehand, she wants to beat the crap out of this girl.
Yeah.
And I don't blame her. Just guys, like you said,
she's annoying, man. She's annoying.
I don't know how. Listen, people love watching her get punched in the face, and because of that, she'll have a very long career in the UFC.
Pretty much. I can see like her getting like, you remember that beautiful. It was like a nice front kick from Valentina Shevchenko. I could see that happening again. Because like Joanne Calderwood is very known for kicks as well. I can see that happening again to Jessica Eye. So yeah, hopefully. We definitely are a little bit biased here. So anyways, we'll move on just because that was an easy fight to talk about. So Jesse Clark, I know you probably have a little bit to talk about when it comes to this co-main event, which is Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. I know you were talking to me. You were saying you were like pretty excited for this one as well, right, Jesse?
Oh yeah. I'm really interested to see how this is going to go. How Michael Chandler's debut is going to unfold. I think the fascinating thing about this matchup in particular is that Hooker presents a lot of problems for him in the style, and it's just going to be interesting to see that step up in competition. He has made his name in Bellator and done a great job. But for me, it's just going to be very fascinating to see which fighter is able to impose their game plan on the other guy. Because, ideally, I would say if Michael Chandler gets his way, he's, taken Dan Hooker down to the ground about 15 times, kind of similar to Michael Chiesa just did in the main event today. And he's kind of just controlling the fight from the ground for the most part. What I do worry about is him kind of just willy-nilly, shooting for takedowns and eating one of those deadly knees. That's obviously a distinct possibility fighting Dan Hooker. So I don't know. I feel like Dan Hooker is a little bit better on the feet. I think Chandler might have the speed advantage, but Hooker is probably just really he's just super durable, obviously, as we saw in that Poirier fight last time out. So, and heck, the Paul Felder one as well. So it's just I don't really know where I'm leaning. It looks like the odds in Vegas are kind of trending towards Chandler. Actually, he was a little bit bigger of a underdog than he is when I just looked minutes ago. So he's closing the gap. Hooker's still a slight favorite, minus 125, but Chandler's minus 105 right now, and he was in the plus territory just like 2 days ago. So interested to see how this goes. And obviously you have your, not only is he making his UFC debut, but he's doing it in a Conor McGregor card. So just the nerves and everything, the pressure going into this co-main event. And that he has to make a splash in order to get his name in the mix, if Khabib comes back and there's just so many questions. So, Michael Chandler has that going against him as well. But the positive is that he did make the trip out to Abu Dhabi a few months ago, and he is in familiar territory in that realm. And he has been training. Obviously, he had to kind of cut weight and be training in order to step in for a potential last-minute replacement in the title fight there. So that's the positives. But there's just so much unknown about this fight that I'm probably just going to stay away from it from a betting perspective and just enjoy it from a fan perspective.
All right, Alec Carr, who do you think is going to win this fight?
So Monique, I got tons of opinions on this fight.
Yeah.
I want to preface all of them by saying I am not a Dan Hooker hater. I don't want to come off as a Dan Hooker hater. I love watching the fight. He puts on a show. The Paul Felder fight is still one of my favorite fights of all time. I still think it should have gone the other way. That might be my Philadelphia bias. Dan Hooker's, I mean, there's a reason why he's ranked where he's ranked. The guy's a great fighter. He's a great striker. Elite striker. I just think Chandler has good enough striking to keep up with him. Chandler has a game plan. He has this game plan that he's had for a lot of his fights. He's fought in a lot of previous strikers in the past. Listen, he did make his way to Bellator for 10 years, and I've said it many, many times. His biggest regret, and this is words out of his mouth, said, I should have signed with UFC 10 years ago when I had a chance. I should not have signed with Bellator. And this guy, he attacks the lower body. He attacks the body. That's what he does, and that's what he's going to do, and that's going to be his game plan here. He's going to attack the legs of Dan Hooker and take him down. And me and Monique have talked about this in the past. If Chandler gets in trouble, we've never seen Dan Hooker on the ground. We've never really seen Dan Hooker fight a guy like Michael Chandler before. So if Michael Chandler gets on the ground, he has that mauler in him. He has that wrestling in him. I think Jesse's right. He's gonna try to, if he gets in trouble on his feet, if he gets hurt, look for this to get on the ground and stay on the ground. And that was a great comparison, bringing up the fight that just happened, which might have been the most. I think Dana White was like, let's get the most boring main card out of the way at the beginning of the year so we don't have to worry about it for the rest of 2021. Because Chiesa clearly had a game plan of, I'm going to get him on the ground and I'm going to lay on him because I don't want to strike. Anyway, we're not talking about that fight. But Chandler could go that route with. And he has a way of forcing refs not to be able to stand him up because he doesn't stop moving when he gets on the ground. He stays active. He'll throw punches. He'll change positions. He'll go into side control. I like Dan Hooker. I think he's a little bit. I think his ranking we might see drop a little bit with RDA reemerging in the division, and let's see what happens with Paul Felder and some of the other fighters. And let's see what happens here. But I think I got Michael Chandler winning this, and I think he's going to win in a unanimous decision. Because I think he's going to bring this to the ground successfully. Now, Dan Hooker could prove me wrong and make me look stupid. Maybe he's got the best takedown defense in the entire UFC, and we just haven't seen it yet. But he hasn't fought wrestlers like this. So it presents a challenge for him. Now, that being said, Jesse's right. He could shoot, if he gets lazy and starts shooting takedowns to shoot takedowns, because he could do it in Bellator and he thinks he can just do it in the UFC, he's going to get caught. He's going to go to sleep really, really quick. But, I mean, he's been training since March of 2020. Which is crazy. He just had a couple of weeks off because the UFC finally granted him some time and gave him a fight. But he's been training since March. It's been like 3 weeks. So I think he's going to be ready for this fight.
Another thing I worry about, Alec, do you worry at all that Chandler is a bit predictable on the feet, just in the way in which he feints and the way in which he kind of just explodes, and he's really heavy on that lead leg. And I went back and watched that Poirier fight with Hooker probably a couple times within the last month or so, based on the new year and all these shows were giving out their annual awards and everything else. So I went back and watched that fight, and he was pretty early on. He was going easy to that low leg kick to Poirier. Kind of gave him some problems. Obviously, Chandler kind of fights pretty heavy on that lead leg. So I do worry about that as well. I'm just wondering if you think that he'll be able to make it a stand-up fight. Chandler has a tendency to just go in there and start brawling once things start getting chaotic. And I worry that he could do that with the wrong guy here. But do you have any concern there? Or like we were saying, do you think he's just going to take him down?
And Noni can vouch for this, and I'm sure, Jesse, if you've watched in the past, I always try to look at the path to victory. Who has a path to victory in this fight, right? And how is their path to victory? And that's Dan Hooker's path to victory. He's attacking that lead leg. It's a great point. Michael Chandler is not good at switching stances. He is not good at going back and forth in between southpaw and your regular stance. He clearly wants to fight a certain way. My issue is I think the first time he gets a significant leg kick, because when I say hurt him, I mean hurt him anywhere. I don't mean rock him. When he gets a first significant leg kick, this fight's going on the ground. Yeah, I mean, that's what Chandler's going to do. Now, again, maybe Hooker's better at takedown defense than I think he is. But, yeah, that's absolutely Hooker's path to victory, is attack the legs like he did that with Poirier and just make this a stand-up fight, because Chandler is going to, if this turns into a stand-up fight, Chandler's going to try to brawl. And you can't brawl against a striker like Hooker, because you will get a counter hook or a counter uppercut or a counter overhand, and you will go to sleep. So I mean, both of them, what's interesting about this fight is both of them have a clear path to victory. I just think Chandler is, if and when this fight gets to the ground, it could be at the beginning of the round, it could be at the end of the round. They're not standing back up. I just don't see how Hooker gets him back up off the ground.
Yeah, I agree. Good points, fellas. That literally took all the words out of my mouth. I definitely am leaning towards Chandler, just because I think overall he's the better fighter, especially on the ground. Like, I never really bet against wrestlers. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a really good wrestler, it's really hard for me to go and say oh yeah, you're probably gonna lose. Especially look at the Khabibs of the world and stuff like that. So I think that Chandler is gonna win. I think that like what Ali Carr said, once Dan Hooker has that significant leg kick, the first one is going on the ground, and I'm going to be interested to see how well Dan Hooker's takedown defense is, if it is, and I don't think it's going to be good enough to survive Chandler's wrestling. So there you go. All right, co-main event.
I will say this, and I'll stop, and I'll make it really, really, really short. I promise. I hope Dan Hooker is great at takedown defense. That's what I'm hoping for. I want to see a fight. I want to see an absolute brawl. And if he's not, this is going to turn. Chandler's going to. Unfortunately, his debut might have to be a boring one in order to win this fight.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so co-main event done. Now, what Jesse Clark was wanting to be in this stream, finally, it's here. We're talking about the main event. We got the Diamond Dustin Poirier versus the Notorious One. That's right, Conor McGregor is back after, I believe, a year. After his is it the Donald Cerrone fight was his last one? I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's the last one. He's coming back from that. So I swear, I'm gonna be psychic, and I bet you all three of us have the same outcome. I have a good feeling that all three of us are gonna be on the same page. I'm gonna give it to Jesse first, just because I know Conor has a special place in your heart. So let's talk Conor McGregor, Jesse Clark.
Yeah, but even so, I tend to try to put bias aside and just evaluate it, as objectively as we possibly can. In fact, I should have brought a little prop here. I just bought a nice new bottle of Proper 12 to celebrate the evening on Saturday. So should have brought it with me. But No, this version of Conor McGregor is very, very, very interesting and enticing to see how this plays out. You always kind of question what you can believe and what you can't. All these camps will tell you a bunch of lies to try to hide things, obviously, but it's just like you can't hide. You would have to be really good at making up lies to be able to produce all the storylines that camp is feeding, and everything you're hearing has been ultra positive. I think the downside here is I actually really like Dustin Poirier as well. So this is one of the very few Conor fights that there hasn't been an extreme rivalry that you had to root pretty hard against the other side. Obviously, the last one was Cowboy as well. But, I don't know. I think this guy is a new animal right now. I think he is coming to his own. I think he will be entertained. Well, I guess we'll see how entertained we are tomorrow during the press conference. We'll see if we get some of the old shenanigans back or whether we get new, older, mature, reserved Conor or how that goes. But one way or the other, it's just super, super entertaining. And there's nothing in this sport that can produce the effect of the excitement that surrounds a Conor McGregor fight. You can't duplicate it. The sport has several stars, Izzy, Khabib, John Jones, a bunch of other guys, and just nobody has all of the facets that he has. And I think he's really starting to, it's getting under his skin. I think he's starting to take, well, I guess he's always taken it personally, but I think he's just starting, he's kind of putting the emotional side of the fight itself to the side. And he's really, what he's taking personally now is that people aren't taking his skills as seriously as they probably should. And so I just think, I don't see this fight going past 2 rounds. I don't. And Dustin's a durable guy, but I don't think anybody on planet Earth in this division that is not named Khabib is a bad matchup for Conor. I really do. I think sooner or later people are going to start giving him the recognition that he deserves from a skill standpoint. And I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know whether it's going to be that left hand, whether it's going to be that left high kick again, kind of like Donald, or whether it's just going to be, a battering of different sorts, whether it's going to be a flying knee. You don't know what to expect with him. I mean, you kind of do because it's most often than not that left hand, but he's just so good at all the other weapons to set it all up. And so I don't know how it's going to come, but I think it's going to come early. I'm not banking on a first round, but I would be shocked if it goes past round 2.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Okay, Alikar, what do you think? Obviously, like I said, I know what Alikar is probably going to say, and I'm pretty sure, like I said, I think all 3 of us have that same, mentality and perspective going into this. But Alikar, what do you have to say? Do you have anything to add on to what Jesse has said?
Yeah, Jesse put it great. But to add on a couple of things that, we've talked about previously in the stream, we've been talking about this fight since before it was announced, when it was rumored.
Yeah. Yeah.
Conor does that. Yeah, we were talking about Conor before a fight was even announced because he's Conor McGregor, and this might drive some people crazy, but he's the UFC's Muhammad Ali. He is. There's no, like Jesse said, there's nothing like it in the UFC. There's no one who has that aura like Conor McGregor, and that's what Muhammad Ali was for boxing. And no one had seen anything like that. I don't think this is going out. I'll be the first to say I think this is a first round knockout. I'd be shocked to see it go past the second round too, Jesse. The thing that really, really concerns me is what's coming out of Dustin's camp, especially as of today. They're kind of already preparing. It sounds like they're kind of already preparing for a loss. which is never a good thing to hear. They're also contradicting themselves in game plan, and that could be a tactic. I don't know. But, I mean, his trainer came out and said, hey, how you beat Conor is how Khabib beat Conor. You pressure him. And I was like, yeah, but Dustin's not Khabib. He's not even close to the same fighter.
Yeah, and he's also probably the best counter striker in the UFC. So
right,
good luck,
exactly.
good luck pressuring him.
Yeah.
That's what Conor wants you to pressure him. If you're a striker going against Conor, he wants you to pressure him because he's just going to wait. He might take a couple of shots, and you might think you're winning, but then he's going to come with either a short. He's got that great short front hand uppercut, that right hand uppercut, and he's also got his left that puts people to bed. And then you got him, Dustin, and his camp saying, we're going to try to drag this out into the late rounds. And it's like, well, if you're pressuring, how are you going to drag it out to the late rounds? If you're pressuring, Dustin's going to get tired too. Dustin's got a great gas tank, but I mean, it's just nothing coming out of that camp sounds good right now. The other thing, and what's probably more important, is Conor McGregor. Jesse touched on it, but this is a new version of Conor. I think we will see antics from him tomorrow. I think we'll see antics from him from tomorrow till the rest of the fight. Maybe not as much as we used to. We probably won't see a water bottle thrown or headbutts or anything like that. But we will definitely hear some antics. But he is a new, mature fighter. He's more of a mature person. What people keep forgetting is that Conor embraced that party lifestyle and was still as dominant as he was. He has since stopped that. The news comes out about all kinds of different things with Conor McGregor. It always does. It's going to follow him for the rest of his life, even if he's, the best dad and husband ever. There's always going to be stuff coming out about him because he's polarizing. But he does seem to have put that party lifestyle behind him and has focused on fighting. He looks like he's motivated. He sounds like he's the most motivated he's ever been since his rise.
Physically, looks like a monster, too.
I was going to say that. Physically, Conor McGregor just ran like 3 triathlons. He's been doing all kinds of crazy endurance training. One of his trainers came out, not Kavanaugh, one of the other ones came out and said, listen, Dustin can try to drag this into the deep waters in the late round, but it's not going to work for him with this version of Conor. This version of Conor is different. This version of Conor has a gas tank. This version of Conor has been working on MMA for a year, uninterrupted, has been working on his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, his boxing and kickboxing, and his Muay Thai. This is a different version of Conor. I would love if Conor took this to the ground and just annihilated Dustin Poirier on the ground and just goes, no, this is a new version of me, guys. I'm better than everybody. Surprise, surprise, the champ is back. I think this is a clear-cut victory for Conor McGregor, and I think it's going to be over. I think if Dustin tries to pressure, this is going to go. Conor said he wants to knock him out within a minute. If Dustin pressures Conor, it's going to be over in 30 seconds.
Yeah. I honestly I can't believe all of that is said, like, from Dustin Poirier's camp. I'm like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to get him killed? Are you trying to get him to lose or something like that? Because it makes no sense. Like, what you trying to do? He's not Khabib, that's for sure. And number 2, what Jesse said about a lot of people underestimating his skill. I was just listening to the DC and Helwani show, and they absolutely said the same thing. They're saying that a lot of people, because of his antics, because of pretty much all the extracurricular activities that surround Conor McGregor, you just don't get to see and really appreciate his skill level. And I for one have followed, just like Alec Carr said, Conor McGregor's newfound. I don't know if it's because he's a daddy for the 3rd time or something like that. Maybe that's the reason why he's stopping all his antics. But he's looking motivated. He's looking sharp, and I wouldn't bet, on this fight to go the other way. at all. And it would be funny, like you said, Alec Carr, if he actually does try to maul him on the ground, that'd be hilarious. I think so.
Did you guys pick Rebos in the fight earlier when you broke that down?
We did.
Yeah, we did.
The one thing I did want to mention is if I am going to bet on this and I'm not going to bet like Conor wins in the first round or something, and I just want to make a bet that's actually a sound bet that you don't have to put a ton of money into. I kind of like the parlay of Conor and Rebos.
Yes.
It's basically like $10 to win, like almost $8. So that's kind of the way I would play it if I was doing bets.
Oh, for sure. We both when we talked about Rebus, like she's just absolutely like another level compared to Marina Rodriguez, for sure. Like especially on the ground too. So I would definitely put that parlay in play, Jesse. That's for sure. All right. Does anyone have anything else to say about Conor McGregor, Dustin Poirier, this fight card?
Nope, I'll be tuning in like a giddy little kid to the press conference tomorrow and hoping to take some good nuggets away there. And then I'll be obviously tuning in on Saturday night with my bottle of Proper 12 to share with a few friends. And we will be hopefully having a nice red panty night, as you would say. So
it's not bad. It's not bad, that Proper 12. It's not bad at all. It's pretty smooth.
Yeah.
It's fucking amazing, as he would say. Fucking absolutely amazing.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Jesse, for coming on to our stream. I know whenever it's a Conor McGregor fight, Jesse was the first one to ask me about the stream going up. So thank you for being on. Thank you, Alec Carr. Always, you can follow him at Alec TV Carr. You can also follow Jesse at JCrockett24, I believe. That's your Twitter handle as well. And then also 4th and 26 Sports for Alec Carr. And obviously Fights USN or Fights Unwrapped. You guys can follow us at Unwrapped Sports as well. And thank you guys so much and happy fight week for everybody. We will see you guys on Saturday. Go Conor McGregor! Let's see, Team Conor.
Back!